Hey there, and welcome to Secrets of the Ancients. If you want to keep exploring the mysteries of the past with us, just go ahead and subscribe, like, and drop a comment below. It really helps us out, and make sure you won't miss any of our future videos. A secret message found in an ancient tomb, but no mummy inside. They discovered the tomb of a royal doctor who lived over 4,000 years ago. A man who quite literally held the pharaoh's life in his hands. This man knew secrets that only gods and kings were supposed to hear. Yet when they opened his tomb in 2024, there was no body inside, just vivid, untouched paintings and mysterious symbols carved into the stone. Who was he? And why was he buried with spells linked to the scorpion goddess? The tomb lay deep under the sands of Saqqara. The doctor's name was Teti Nebi Fu. He lived about 4,100 years ago during a strange turning point in Egypt, on the edge between glory and collapse. These were the last days of the Old Kingdom. The sun still shone on the freshly built pyramids, but the shadows had already begun to creep in. Pharaoh Pepi II ruled longer than anyone before him, 90 years. But by the end of his reign, the country was falling apart. Central power weakened, local leaders rose up, and the Nile's floods became unpredictable. In the middle of all this mysterious doctor thrived. A joint Swiss-French archaeological team uncovered his tomb in the shadows of the ancient pyramids. But the strangest part? When they opened his burial chamber, there was no mummy, and no treasure either. Sadly, the tomb had been robbed centuries ago. But what was left behind was far more fascinating, words and images on the walls. The paintings were still vibrant, their colours somehow surviving thousands of years underground. The walls showed jars, containers, strange abstract patterns and geometric shapes. There were also hieroglyphs, lines and lines of sacred writing, carved so carefully it seemed someone had poured their soul into each curve.
From these inscriptions we learn that I wasn't just a doctor, I was a Saqqara magician.
Saqqara, also spelled Selket, was the scorpion goddess, both sacred and, honestly, a little terrifying. Egyptians believed she could stop poison, heal bites, and protect the living from venomous creatures. Holding the title of Saqqara magician meant Teti Nebi Fu specialized in treating dangerous stings and bites. And if he had a whole tomb to himself, he was probably the best expert Egypt had at the time, a man who healed with medicine and magic. But there's more.
He also carried the rare title of Director of Medicinal Plants, a title recorded only once before in all of ancient Egypt.
It meant he had deep knowledge about healing herbs, roots and oils, knowledge no one else had. You might wonder what plants could possibly grow in a desert.
Actually, the ancient Egyptians had herbal medicines that would stand up to modern lab tests. They made pills, ointments, and even inhalers. Most of the time, they combined an active ingredient, something for flavor, and something to help deliver it into the body. Sound familiar? It's not so different from how medicine works today. True, they didn't have a huge variety of plants, so some ingredients seem bizarre by today's standards, like crocodile dung mixed with honey or acacia. They even had recipes for anti-wrinkle creams. And it seems our mysterious healer was also the chief dentist, a title so rare it hardly shows up anywhere else. Evidence of ancient Egyptian dentists is extremely scarce, but it makes sense. While these people built wonders, their teeth paid the price. Egyptians constantly chewed gritty bread filled with sand and raw vegetables that wore down enamel, causing a painful condition called tooth wear. This led to many dental problems, even tooth loss, so they had to improvise. For example, the world's oldest known toothpaste was a mix of crushed rock, mint, and pepper, which probably made gum problems worse. They also tried pastes made from eggshells, peas, and natron, a salty mineral used for cleaning. They even invented mouthwash using celery, bran, and herbs. Some mummies have been found with primitive braces and gold wires tying loose teeth together. We don't know if these were used in life or added as offerings for the afterlife.
So, Teti Nebi Fu was skilled in all these areas. 3 rare titles for a single man. Back then, He must have been admired as someone with astonishingly broad knowledge. In a world without modern science, he would have seemed almost magical. Someone who knew which leaves or tree bark could save a life.
That's why archaeologists think Teti Nebi Fu wasn't just any doctor. He was probably the royal doctor who treated the pharaoh himself. We don't know for sure which king he served, possibly Pepi II. And who knows, maybe that's part of why Pepi II lived so long. If so, Teti Nebi Fu would have witnessed the very end of Egypt's golden age from inside the palace walls. Before being buried, his body was either stolen or simply lost to time. But researchers say they're still studying the tomb and continue to uncover traces of this remarkable man.
Overall, ancient Egyptians practiced medicine at a surprisingly advanced level. Some of their methods even look familiar today. They had hospitals, specialists, surgical clinics, and even medical schools. Both men and women could become doctors. They treated patients in many ways, performed surgery with real tools like scalpels, forceps, and even surgical thread. Some doctors focused only on eyes, others on teeth or stomachs or what they called hidden diseases. They cleaned and bandaged wounds, could set broken bones with wooden splints or linen casts, and even prevent infections. There were even proctologists, and they made the first prosthetics, like a wooden toe with leather straps that helped people walk again. The oldest known prosthetic is about 3,000 years old. One of the most shocking discoveries, they even tried removing tumors. A recent study examined a 4,000-year-old skull of a man in his 30s. It showed signs of previous tumors, and surgical cuts made with metal tools, suggesting they tried to remove or examine them. Another skull from a woman over 50 also had similar marks, along with healed fractures from earlier injuries. That's astonishing. It may mean the treatment actually worked.
Being a healer meant something big in ancient Egypt. It meant being a priest, a scholar, and a magician all at once. Medicine was treated with deep respect, almost like a divine art, because illness was seen as both physical and spiritual. So, doctors would sometimes recite spells while applying medicine, and many of their treatments actually worked. Egyptian doctors were so renowned that leaders from other parts of the ancient world, like Persia, sought their help. Even Homer, the Greek poet, once said Egyptians were the most skilled healers of all. Of course, their understanding of the human body wasn't perfect. For example, they believed the heart controlled thoughts and emotions, and they didn't really know what the brain did. But their approach, observing symptoms, diagnosing, and then treating, well, that's basically modern medicine. They also had famous figures like Imhotep, a real-life polymath who was an architect, priest, and healer so respected that he was later worshipped as the god of medicine. He lived about 2,000 years before Hippocrates, who's often called the father of medicine. Some even joke we should swear the Imhotep oath instead of the Hippocratic one. These people weren't just building pyramids. They were laying the foundations of healthcare itself.
Finally, thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to follow Secrets of the Ancients and check out our future videos. Subscribe, like, and comment. We'd love to hear